What's up everybody, it is Jay here, and today I want to talk about informed consent. Informed consent in this context is all about trans healthcare and how you access your trans healthcare. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is partly because I think it's important, and partly because more and more I hear more and more news about in Ireland and the UK these public health systems that are catering to trans people but are becoming more and more difficult to access with longer and longer waiting lists. And I think informed consent could help. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, to make everybody who watches my videos aware that it exists. So, if you don't already know, a lot of the time how you access healthcare as a trans person, specifically for your transition, revolves around a mental health care professional. It is a gatekeeping system where you speak to a professional who assesses whether you really need transition related healthcare, whether you really need hormones, whether you really need surgery. An informed consent model basically gives you the information about hormones, about surgery, etc., and allows you to understand it, ask questions, and then just consent to it of your own accord. Nobody else's opinion goes into whether or not you are able to access that treatment. And I think that is a significantly better model than using this gatekeeping system. The main reasons for that is, number one, it is empowering to people to be able to make their own decisions about themselves. And it is a bit ridiculous to be taking people's own right to consent to treatments on their own body from them just because they are trans. Number two, I think the pathologization, you know what I mean, turning into an illness of trans identity is very harmful. Obviously, having an illness, having a mental illness particularly, is something that you should be ashamed of, but treating someone's identity like it is an illness suggests that there is some way to cure it, that it causes some kind of inherent harm to you. And that is not the nature of trans identity. Now, I could get into that in a whole other video in much more detail about why I think trans identities shouldn't be treated as mental illnesses, but that is not for today. That is the shortened version of my point. If you treat it as an illness, then you both communicate to people that A, it can be cured, and B, that it inherently causes some kind of harm to the individual. And that isn't the case with a trans identity. It's just an identity. It's just who you are. So, you have your disempowerment of people by taking away their right to choose. You have the fact that you are treating their identity like it's an illness of some sort that needs to be vetted. And at the end of this line, literally just you're making them wait even longer for something they have probably been waiting a long time for already. For example, I know that at least in Ireland at present, you would be waiting at least a year a lot of the time to see a mental health care professional who can refer you on to somewhere else. And then, you might be waiting a little bit longer after you've seen that mental health care professional to get to that next spot. And that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I know that in the UK at the moment you're waiting about 3 years before you get your first appointment at a gender identity service. And in those services, you have to space out your appointments over the course of like 9 months at least. So it's 3 years before you even see someone who can help you. And that kind of delay, while obviously there are other structural issues with the systems that we use to treat trans people, especially in public healthcare systems, the whole mental health aspect of it adds another layer that needs to be addressed that doesn't need to be there. It adds another step to the process that doesn't need to be there. On a more personal note, especially speaking from other people who have gone through these processes, it's upsetting a lot of the time, because a lot of the time these mental health care professionals, they want to hear a fucking life story. And I have gone through this so many times at this point that I practically have a fine to a down heart, down to a fine art, not down to a fine dart, down to a fine art. And for a lot of people, while I just find it tiring because I have to go through all of these things that happened to me, or all of these different points in my life where I was upset because of the fact that I was trans to a stranger, for other people who may have some kind of traumatic incident in their past, oftentimes they're made to talk about that. I've heard of people who've been made to talk about sexual assault experiences and abuse experiences at these health, like these mental health gatekeeping appointments. And, that just causes them emotional upset that is unnecessary to their treatment as a trans person. Your experience of abuse or assault does not make you more or less trans than somebody else. Your experience of abuse is not something that your healthcare professional has a right to know about, even. And it's just very much it always feels like a violation of privacy every time you go into one of these things. And obviously, not everybody feels that way, not everybody has that experience, but from my experience and from the people I've talked to about this, it feels like a probing session, if we're being real. And it's not fair, it's not right to put people through that just because you want to justify whether they really deserve what they want or not. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please feel free to click the like button down below. The comment section is open for any questions that you might have. I know that this video is a little bit, more complicated than, it's a topic that's a little bit more complicated. So feel free to ask any questions that you have. I will put any similar videos up in the cards, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I know that I am really bad at making videos on a regular basis, so subscribing is the best way to find out when I've made another one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.